everyone, and welcome to another episode of Don't Go Broke Trying. Today, I am recording live from the Adobe podcast stage at FinCon in Portland, Oregon, and I'm really excited about this conversation. So, as you know, we talk about conversations about how to not go broke trying to live your best life. And today, I wanted to talk about something that we've never spoken about on the podcast before, and that is time freedom. So, we all want financial freedom, but what happens when you want to chase time freedom without a money plan? You could end up broke, stressed, and right back where you started. But today I am joined by someone who has achieved time freedom, and I want him to tell us all about how he did it. So I'm joined by Brian. He believes that meaningful freedom is possible without full financial independence, right? So, hi, Brian. How are you?
Hi, I'm very good. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
How have you been?
Enjoying FinCon so far?
Yeah.
So I rolled in late last night. I'm from the San Francisco Bay Area.
Okay,
I live in the East Bay. And so it was just a short flight up. So any opportunity for a conference on the West Coast, I'm game.
I know. We don't have many on the West Coast, right?
No.
I'm from the East Coast, so it was definitely a trek over here, but I'm excited. It's my second FinCon. Is this your first FinCon?
It is. It's my
Okay.
first. Yeah. And I'm excited to talk about time freedom. I'm very passionate about it in the context of money.
Yeah, cool. Okay. So could you tell us a little bit about you, who you are, and how did you grow up with money?
Yes. So my quick story is I've always been into saving and investing and watching expenses and things like that. I've pursued financial freedom for much of my life and had just a lot of setbacks, though, and not necessarily bad things. Sure, markets go down and things like that, but you get married and then you have kids and then you move to an expensive city and then you find out that your kid needs to go to a private school because that's how he learns better. And so there, that freedom goal just kept getting pushed out and out and out, and it kind of everything came to a head in 2020 when I was getting close and the market crashed with the COVID crash, and everything felt very real at that time. And I said to my wife, that whole freedom thing we're going to do really soon, that's pushed off again. And when I ran the numbers, it was like 15 years out. I was 45 at the time. And so 15 years out is 60. That's not early retirement.
Not at all.
And then she asked me a question, so what would you do anyway, if you did have this freedom? I'm like, I don't know, probably more of the same. I love working, but just less of it. So she said, you're really not retiring early. You're not getting financial freedom. Like, why are you pursuing this if you're going to keep working? And she's usually the one with the right answers in the relationship. So I searched my soul and thought, hey, what if I could manage this new sort of lifestyle where instead of focusing all on the money's an important part of it, but instead of focusing all on that, what if I focused on getting the time freedom first? And what that meant to us was we are originally from Wisconsin, the North Woods of Wisconsin, the beautiful evergreen, trees, beautiful lakes. Cold weather.
Yeah.
Good point. We love the summer there.
Okay.
And we're big water skiers. And so we have a small, tiny little cabin on a lake up there. And our goal was to figure out how to live there in the summer without having to work. And then we could work the rest of the year. Our son's in school. Like, what else am I going to do? And we were able to make that work in 3 years from that point.
Oh, wow.
So June 2023 was the first summer that I took off. And so that is my new lifestyle where I've worked. It all comes down it's not just a money equation, it's a money and a work equation. And if you can figure out how to make those two things work together, then you can have your freedom sooner.
Okay.
And let the money grow in the background, and eventually you'll get financial freedom, but you want the time freedom first.
Okay, good. I love this because I'm also on a similar journey. I quit my job in 2021 to pursue content full-time and teaching people about financial literacy, and it's been great. But of course, when you're a business owner, I feel like you work for you worked for somebody. Now you're working for every client that you ever have, right? So I felt like I was working even more than my 9 to 5. So I decided I'm going to take summers off, and I've been doing that for the past 2 years. I
love
think.
it.
So I think we're very aligned when it comes to that. So I think a lot of people would love this, and they would feel like this would be a great way for them to kind of enjoy your life instead of having to wait for retirement. So could you tell us a little bit more about how you were able to achieve this time freedom and practical steps on how you can get there?
Absolutely. So let me start with the financial freedom formula, which I call it, which is not usually called that, but the 4% rule that people certainly may be familiar with, and that is, you have your lifestyle and the expenses associated with that. That's on one side of the equation. On the other side of the equation, you want 4% of the money that you've saved to be able to cover that.
Yeah.
The problem is that has to be usually a pretty high number.
Yeah.
And people get real discouraged and not be, we're trying so hard to get there early, and we're sacrificing whatnot. Wouldn't it be cooler if we had another release valve in that equation? And so that I've extended that to the time freedom formula, which is you still have your lifestyle expenses you have to cover, but that equals the money that you could pull early, 4%. Maybe you even do it, heaven forbid, before you reach retirement age. Perhaps you even pull it out of a retirement account. Oh my gosh. But that is just part of it. Then you have to fill in the blank with what I call flexible work, the flexible income, the income that you're earning as a podcaster in the non-summer months. And if you look at that over a year, you can actually make that work. And then it's just ups and downs. Like if you don't spend as much, your lifestyle expenses are lower. You don't have to work as much, or if you you don't have as much, just the levers kind of go up and down, and then usually someone will have one of those elements of the time freedom formula that is key to their success in reaching time freedom, and then we kind of zero in on what that one happens to be, and then you can kind of go step by step.
Would you say that you have to earn a high income in order to achieve time freedom, or no? Because let's say someone's making 50 or let's say even 100K a year. Would this be possible for them with that, depending on where they live, of course?
I think less important is the amount that you're making, believe it or not, than the type of work that you're doing.
Okay.
Meaning, if you are in a typical corporate or full-time employee, I have no flexibility in my schedule, I have to work all year, then it's difficult, and you will have to kind of start to figure out how you can move toward a more flexible work situation, which is usually self-employment, solo entrepreneurship, independent consulting, coaching, freelancing, those sorts of things. But back to your original question, does it have to be a lot? No, it doesn't have to be a lot. It just has to work out. Right. In other words, if you take a look at that equation over a year, if your expenses are low, that could be the key to your time freedom. You don't really have to have that much saved, or you don't even have to earn that much in flexible work. That's kind of that can become the key. Now, people will say, "Well, this works for a year, great." Well, I have kids going into college in 4 years. What happens there? Well, then that completely understandable, and I believe it. So, but then you need to get a little more. Not complicated. You need to use calculations. So I have a timefreedomcalculator.com, which is kind of like a retirement calculator, but it's meant to have that quote unquote free age much earlier. But then it also allows you to have this flexible work also included in the calculator, so that you can see how it all works together. And that's where you can put, I have college expenses coming, or I expect, this healthcare expense that will hit me later in life. You can put all those things in the calculator and still be able to ensure that you don't run out of money, even when you're living this more flexible lifestyle. I love, by the way, that you're doing this already. This is great.
I love it. And I was, just as your point, I realized I can do this now as I'm, not married yet and don't have kids, and, I'm really just responsible for myself at this point. So I feel like it works now, but I like that you have your calculator that can kind of factor these different things into it as well.
Yeah, and I do have kids, and I have a wife, and
and it still works for you, right?
And it does still work. Yes, you have to make sure everyone's goals are met. Like, of course, ideally, what we're moving toward is spending the fall in New York City and then spending 3 months in England or France.
I love it.
Now, the reason, I have a son who needs to go to school, so we can't really do that just yet. I'm not saying he's holding us back. I'm not saying that.
We didn't say that, but okay, I love that. And again, I think people just haven't been aware that this is even a lifestyle that they can pursue. And it starts with having goals, as you said, because most of us, we have these big goals like, I want to retire early, but how do you actually get there? And if I want to have this lifestyle, I just need to be aware that it first exists so I can then make goals in order to plan towards it. So I think that's great.
Yeah, it's evolution. So for your listeners, most likely if they're interested in this financial, personal financial space, they've already made the transition perhaps from traditional retire at 65, right? They're starting to think, okay, how could I use my money, get my money situation in order that I can be free earlier?
Yeah.
That's FIRE, financial freedom. And then mine's kind of, time freedom is in between.
Yeah.
It's the happy medium, the balanced. I have a book that I've written that's not yet out, and I've had early readers, and what they say is what I like about this book is it's balanced, and balance means doable.
Yeah.
Usually you read a book and it sounds really cool, but you have to make some sort of extreme life change or
Yes.
something, and you're like, well, that would be cool for that one person that can do that.
Exactly.
But I really do believe that this is so achievable for people, and it's perfect for the person middle, you're a little bit younger than me, but middle career, and you've been working hard, and you look up one day and go, oh my gosh, I have another 20 years. The thing I don't want to happen is just like, I'm going to grin and bear it, work it out. I'm going to do whatever I can to just make it happen. I'm like, oh no, there's other opportunities. And
other things that we can do with our lives.
Yeah.
Basically. What are some of the trade-offs that people do have to make when it comes to time freedom? Because we don't want to make it seem like it's just all rosy and glamorous. I'm sure something has to be given up sometimes.
Yes, I describe this as you have to consciously decide that you want freedom over extreme wealth, right? So you're kind of giving up this idea of building massive wealth, generational wealth, or whatever you want to call it, and in exchange for, because sure, you could work those 3 months during the summer and make a little more, but I don't know, and some people want to, and that's good, and they should, but if you want to, if you value freedom more so, that has to be given up, I suppose you could say.
Yeah.
Although I would also argue that when you have those 3 months, as our example, to kind of come back out of the business, the day-to-day grind, you have a chance to think about different ways of doing things.
I agree.
And probably something that you would never have thought of that will 10x your business instead of... So 10x is better than 2x is a book that I love.
Okay.
It basically says, most people say, I want to get 10% better, and I'm going to work on 10 things to get 10% better. The premise of that book is there's one thing out there. You just have to figure out what it is that will make it 10 times better, which is perfect for time freedom because I want us to focus on one thing, not 10 things, to protect your time. And yet you could still go big, we just have to figure out what it is.
Yeah. I love that you mentioned that. Yes, those 3 months off can actually give you the space to think because, as I mentioned, I've been taking the past 3 months off for the past 2 years, and I just ended my break a few weeks ago, and I feel like I can breathe again, especially as an entrepreneur, sometimes we're working a lot, many hours. So it gives me time to be more creative and to think and to travel the world and do whatever I want. So I love that. What would you say are some of the biggest mistakes people who want to chase time freedom make? So is there any mistake that you've seen?
I think the mistake is perhaps allowing you to get pulled back into the status quo.
Okay.
I think the hardest thing about doing anything that's quote unquote a little bit different from the norm is that you are different, and so it's easy to kind of feel like almost like a subliminal pressure to kind of come back and do it the way that everybody else does it. But that's why you need to meet people at groups, here at FinCon who are like, no, we've chosen to do this differently, and it leads for a more interesting life. My goal is I don't want to come to the end of my life and look back and go, oh man, I wish I would have done some more things or different things. I've always been like, just let's do the next thing. But it's actually my wife, the same one that asked me that question. She's like, why are you doing this? Like, what else could you do? Could you do anything cooler? And I said, oh, you mean like I always thought, oh, maybe I could go to Hollywood and become an actor, not a famous one, but like a hardworking one. She's like, no, I'm not talking about that. I'm like, yeah. I'm like, no, I think I could do it. She's like, no, I think you have some misplaced confidence there. But that's what I mean. Like, if you want to do it, do it.
Yeah.
whatever. We have a short life, so just do a bunch of different things.
Yeah. I totally agree, especially when it comes to peer pressure and it's sometimes people aren't even saying it. It's just you thinking, okay, I'm very different than everybody else. I know when I first started taking breaks, my mom, who is a traditional 9-to-5er, was like, what do you mean you're taking 3 months off? What if all the business runs out? And I was like, Mom, like, trust me and believe me, but it would be very easy to just be sucked back into that traditional way of working.
And your parents are doing it because they want to protect you.
Yes.
And your friends are either want to protect you or are jealous of you. But yeah, it's hard. My mom's thing was when we moved to San Francisco, and when you buy a house in San Francisco, you're putting some money down. She's like, I can't believe I'm a realtor in rural Wisconsin. I would never spend money on that. I'm like, no, trust me, it's going to be okay.
Yeah.
15 years later, it's good.
Yeah. And that really emphasizes the importance of surrounding yourself with people who maybe have similar dreams to you or goals to you. I always say you can't really dream further than you can, or you can't really see further you can dream.
Yeah.
And it's because, even this time freedom thing, it's because I saw somebody else do it that I thought, okay, maybe I can take off the summer just like this person does. So
yeah, and when it's so exhilarating to see other people doing it, and you can hear their stories. I have a podcast too, the Time Freedom Podcast. Our first season this fall is about the concepts of my book, but the season in the spring is going to be talking to people like yourself who have actually made this work, because I think there need to be more role models so that more people can, like you said, see how you do it differently, because it is different for everybody. Everyone has different skills, different networks, different things that they're passionate about, but I think the common unifying theme is that we value freedom over just pure wealth.
Definitely. Okay, so I guess we need to check out your podcast so that everyone can, learn a bit more and surround themselves with people who are dreaming very big.
Yeah, thank you.
So if my audience remembers only one thing or one money lesson about time freedom, what do you think that should be?
If you value freedom, but it just seems like it's too far away, time freedom can be the answer to get it more quickly.
Okay, thank you so much. This has been great. If somebody wants to reach out to you or connect with you or just learn more about you, can you let us know where they can find you?
Yeah, my website is timefreedom.life. And it's got everything you want to know there, links to that calculator that I mentioned. I speak. The book is not out yet, but you can learn more about that, all of those good things.
Okay, and when's the book coming out?
It's actually not coming out till the middle of next year, 2026, but it's been delayed because they're going to be selling it into retail stores, which is a great thing. So more access.
Congratulations.
Right? Thank
That's
you.
really exciting.
Thank you.
Well, thank you so much for being on the podcast. I really appreciate it. And we will see everyone in the next episode. If you did enjoy this, make sure to connect with Brian on all his platforms, and I will leave his links in the show notes below. Thank you so much, Brian.
Thanks, Reni.
Bye.